I'm Dave Kluge with Football Guys, and today we are going to talk about 3 players that you need to go out and trade for right now in your fantasy football league. Now, I don't want to pat myself on the back too hard, but we've been doing this for a few weeks now, and I have recommended going out and getting Justin Fields, Zach Ertz, Travis Etienne, George Pickens, Wan'Dale Robinson, and a bunch of other players who are trending up quickly. So hopefully today I can give you some more good advice and help you find players that you should be targeting in your fantasy football league. If you have any trade questions, be sure to leave them below. I love helping out with trade questions and will do whatever I can to make sure that you are making the right decision. If you haven't already, give us a thumbs up on this video. That is going to help some other people find the video. And last but not least, be sure to subscribe. YouTube.com/footballguys. We're bringing you these short videos every single day, and we have a ton of great full-length shows for you to check out as well. So let's go ahead and dive right in, talking about 3 players that you need to be trading for in your fantasy football league. The first guy I'm going to talk about might be available on your waiver wire, so check right now. If he is, drop what you're doing and pick him up. But if Gus Edwards is already rostered in your league, go out and try to get him because he is set up for a very good season. Now, in Week 7, we saw a 3-headed committee in Baltimore. Kenyon Drake, Justice Hill, and Gus Edwards split snaps pretty evenly. You've also got to factor in Lamar Jackson, who is kind of the de facto goal line back there. But I'm trying to get ahead of the curve here, and what I see is Gus Edwards leading the team in touches the week he returns from a brutal knee injury. After not playing in over a year, Gus Edwards returned and led the team in touches, snaps, and goal line opportunities, which he was able to convert twice for 2 touchdowns. Now, a lot of fantasy managers are going to look at this output and they're going to look at the usage splits and say, well, Gus Edwards is in a committee and he got lucky and I'm going to go try to sell high. I think he's a guy that you should go out and try to buy high on because there's still so much room for him to grow. Anyone who rostered J.K. Dobbins in his rookie season knows how frustrating Gus Edwards can be. Jim Harbaugh loves him, and rightfully so. Gus Edwards is one of 9 players in NFL history to have over 400 carries while maintaining a 5.0 yard per carry average. He is great at what he does and has the trust of the coaching staff. So if he takes a year off and comes back to lead the team in touches, that is a sign of things to come. He is only going to get more work in the future. And now with J.K. Dobbins presumed to be out for the entire season, I'm not especially concerned that Justice Hill and Kenyon Drake are going to cut into this pie significantly. Gus Edwards should see somewhere between 60 to 70% of the running back touches going forward on a team that wants to run the ball. Now, I can get crazy here and talk about the high-end range of outcomes and that Gus Edwards could potentially be an RB1, but I don't want to try to oversell it here. Really what we're looking at is somebody who's going to see a lot of volume and will most likely finish as a back-end RB2 on that volume alone. You can paint the picture for the upside, but go out and get Gus Edwards. I don't know if there's a more obvious buy low candidate than the next guy I'm going to talk about. Chris Godwin has done nothing but churn out top 15 seasons. As a matter of fact, in the last 3 years, he has finished no worse than wide receiver 15 and averaged no less than 15.9 fantasy points per game. This year, though, he's played in 5 games and he's been limited in 2 of them. And because of that, fantasy managers can look at the overall output and have a pretty sour taste in their mouth. But in the 3 games where Chris Godwin was not on a snap limit, he logged 10, 12, and 13 targets in each of those games. He has become Tom Brady's favorite target. Now, Mike Evans is there as the wide receiver 1. I don't know if you can really call Chris Godwin a wide receiver 2, though. These guys share wide receiver 1 duties, and they operate in very different parts of the field. Where Mike Evans does a lot of his work a little bit further down the field, Chris Godwin gets a lot of that short and intermediate work underneath and is a target hog. Now, as I said, the production hasn't really been there for Chris Godwin. He's the wide receiver 51 on the year, but the usage in the games where he has been healthy is enough that you should be enticed to go out and get him. If somebody is selling for anything lower than a wide receiver 2 price tag, I would go out and get him. There might be concerns that something from his injury is still lingering and that could be playing into his dip in production, when the reality is he's 26 years old, he's almost a year removed from that ACL tear, and there is no signs in his game that he is slowed down. He's always picked up these little injuries, whether it be concussions or broken fingers or hamstrings or the knee injury that he had early in this season that set him back, and that's just baked into his cost. You know that Chris Godwin is going to miss some time, but when he is healthy and on the field, he is a wide receiver 1 and should be valued as such. The last guy I'm going to talk about is somebody who I've done a complete 180 on since last offseason. When the year ended, I said that Amon-Ra St. Brown was a sell high candidate, somebody that you should try to get whatever value you could for in the dynasty landscape. But after what we saw in weeks 1 and 2, I threw those priors out the window and am just appreciating the greatness that is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, those who drafted him late in their drafts probably felt pretty good after the first couple of weeks, but since then, it has not been a pretty picture. Over the next 5 weeks, Amon-Ra St. Brown has only played in 3 games, and in those 3 games, he has 95 scoreless yards. That is obviously due to injuries and a bye week. He had an ankle injury that set him out for a couple of games, then he had a bye week, then he came back in week 7, took a hit to the head, and was immediately knocked out of the game. And looking ahead at week 8, he might not be able to play. So if you are in a good spot, if your team is sitting at 6-1 or 7-0, and you can afford to stash a wide receiver on the bench for another week, reach out to that guy that has Amon-Ra St. Brown, is probably struggling right now, and you might be able to buy low on somebody who has put up historically phenomenal numbers. If you remember, dating back to last year, Amon-Ra St. Brown had an 8-game stretch where he logged a minimum of 8 receptions per game. He joined Michael Thomas and Antonio Brown as the only player to do that in NFL history, and just for the heck of it, Amon-Ra St. Brown tacked on a touchdown in each of those outings as well. When healthy, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a locked and loaded top 5 fantasy wide receiver. If there's any opportunity to buy low on him now because of these injuries and bye weeks and frustrations that the fantasy managers are dealing with, take it immediately. So there you have it, 3 guys that I am trying to go out and get wherever I can this week: Gus Edwards, Chris Godwin, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you have anything to add, please leave it below. And if you haven't already, give us that thumbs up so you can help some other people find this video. Subscribe for more content at youtube.com/footballguys. Drop me a follow on Twitter at Dave Kluge, that's Kluge, and thank you so much for checking this video out. It is a pleasure to help you, and I will see you next week.